the four of us have found each other. All the BB you can get.
And there it is. It didn't take long.
For the video dad. It's like, hey, that's my spot.
Yeah.
I need you to move that dad.
Somebody want to bail me out here?
It's fun to watch you work. Matt took me in like a stray dog.
And now that stray dog is turned into a beautiful steed. And look, just like that, we're live, and it's just Dan. There he is. It's amazing, everybody. Volleyball Video Dads podcast. Here we go.
Hey,
Back
it's been a while.
It has been a long while, a long while, too long, in fact. If you ask me, but
yeah, absolutely. And we're down a couple of dads. One of them was here. I think I'm gonna guess he's rebooting his computer.
Looks like he lost my internet. Be back as soon as possible. He says, "Go figure."
That's what you get for living in
Check
Arkansas.
that
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sending your data across banjo strings, you know.
Yep. So what's going on, Jim? How are you? How's it been?
It's been a stressful couple of months, personally, professionally, and then athletically for my daughter.
Yeah, you've got a lot going on, man. I thought I had a lot going on, but I think your
stuff is better than mine. Mine's been a little tough, not bad. Just it hasn't been paid work of videography or anything like that. So
yeah, well, it's a benefit. It's starting to take off over here on my end, so that's a good thing. So hey, and if any of you volleyball moms or dads are watching, we make videos.
We do
volleyball videos. We make hype reels and stuff like that. So if anybody's out there is interested in that, you can check us out. I'll put links in the description below. Jim decided that wasn't a good idea, so he's leaving the show.
Let's see.
And in other news.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
all right.
Yeah.
We're off to
I feel like this is one of those things where we should just give up or we just go straight to the podcast.
I'm going to switch browsers.
Hear you just fine. That's crazy.
Yeah, I got an error message about didn't like my browser and doesn't have access to my camera or something stupid. So I'm just gonna keep talking and I'll switch over to another browser.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll figure it out and we'll get there. And,
So as Dan was saying, we do hype videos and highlight videos, team videos. But not just volleyball. Dan covers all the sports.
Yeah,
He's
I have been doing
basketball and hockey.
Yeah, basketball, hockey. I'm gonna try football in the fall. See how that goes. I probably won't. I'll probably steer clear of soccer. But speaking of steering clear, guess who showed up? Hey, Matt.
I don't know what just happened.
He's back.
That's okay. We lost Jim's visual, so. He's the mystery man now for the time being, but so yeah. Anyway, it's been a video packed year so far, and now we're just gonna trade spaces here until we figure this out. Hey, look, there he is.
There he is.
Are we good?
We're good.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I really do.
All right.
What did I miss?
We just introed and we were talking about making videos of volleyball and other stuff and how we're busy and how things are going, and really didn't get into anybody else's situations or anything like that. But yeah.
Nice. Speaking of videos, I'm behind about 8 tournaments.
Have you done one yet this year?
I did 2.
Are you still using
behind 6 tournaments, not 8, but I'm behind 6.
Are you still using the reel-to-reel camera?
Yeah, I'm using the real camera, and I did actually fix the settings where I'm not filming in 1990 720p.
I'm back using that Flintstone camera where there's a little pterodactyl on there chiseling everything in stone.
Yeah.
Where's Travell at today?
He said he's got some makeup practices for the tournaments, the practices they missed for tournaments.
Oh,
I guess they must have weekend practices.
Yeah, we don't have we never had weekend practice. Well, I shouldn't say that. It'd be a Sunday night if there was a weekend practice.
We have optional Sundays, or not optional, occasional Sundays.
Occasional.
It's an O word.
Hey, I got one for you guys. So I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I'm just going to toss it out there before we get into the main event, the meat and potatoes, if you will.
Yeah.
So I went to film a hockey team or a hockey game at a complex that has every youth sport imaginable going on at once. They had volleyball, softball, baseball, indoor baseball, and then they have hockey rinks there. So there's 3 different sports going on: volleyball, baseball, and hockey. And you walk in, and there's this big corridor, and then it like splits off. And the left is volleyball, and to the right over here goes downstairs, and there's a big baseball diamond. And then you go straight, and that's where the hockey rinks are. Well, I still don't understand this. We walk in, and there's a line, probably 30 people long, waiting to pay for volleyball. And you can go walk right in and do baseball, and you can walk right in and watch hockey, but you have to pay for this line over here for volleyball. Why is that? Why do we have to pay for volleyball? Can somebody explain this to me? And somebody simply told me, because we pay it. Why? I don't understand. The hockey team had to rent out the arena. The baseball team had to rent out the arena. Why volleyball? Why are we spending $7, $10, $15, $25, $50 for a weekend? I don't understand.
Well, you're a hockey dad now, so why don't you tell us is what you pay more for hockey than you did for
I pay
volleyball?
less for hockey. I pay less. Now it's a local, but it's every weekend, but it's literally one game and we're done.
Yeah.
But we pay, our dues, I think my dues were $2,800 for Brady to play from October to March. No, November to March. And there were 3 practices a week. And that was on ice and off ice. So, I paid double for Sydney for volleyball the last season she played. And I just don't understand.
Well, that was there was a discussion in our volleyball dads Facebook group today about stay to play.
Pay to stay?
Yeah.
Stay to play?
Yeah.
Pay to stay?
Yeah.
Pay to play? Pay to play?
And pay to
Stay
play
to
is a
play.
different topic. We'll cover that on another podcast. But
Yeah, right? That's a good one we should talk about.
no, but it's kind of along those lines. I think there's a lot of money involved and everybody knows it. So
Yeah.
everybody has to get their piece, right?
Yeah, but what the fuck, man? Like, that's just, I hate the fact that we pay a large amount of money for club volleyball and then we have to pay to get into these events. Sometimes you have to pay to park too.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole different story for another day. But
We gotta get our
It's like
get off my
it's like
lawn
going to
so get
Disney
ready.
World though. Whenever you go to Disney World, you're paying $300 a day, per ticket to get in. But then
It's
if you
nuts.
drive there, you're going to pay $20, $25 just to park. Like, why is that not included in your ticket? It just doesn't make sense.
because you can. Because they
Exactly.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because they
that's
can.
the answer.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's not right. I don't like it. I want to tell the world that they shouldn't have to pay. But who am
I have a better question for you, though. It's really controversial, and I hope some people weigh in on this one because it's come up quite a bit this year and pretty close to some fights happening over it. But it really boils down to what's the correct pronunciation? Is it libero or
Oh.
libero?
Oh my gosh.
Depends on what part of the world you're from.
See, I think it's a regional thing too. But what's the correct way to say it?
Oh, hold on. Let me try something. Let's see if this works.
Again, I think it.
Siri, give me the definition of libero.
Libero means the rearmost, roaming defensive player in volleyball or soccer.
Libero.
See, you can't trust that Siri because she's got a British accent.
That's right.
Now switch it to American Siri.
Yeah.
Hold on. I don't know how to do that on the fly. Keep talking and I'll figure it out.
I think in most of the U.S. that would probably be called a libero. In a lot of European nations, it'd probably be libero.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's libero. But then when
See,
you
I think it's
listen to it on,
libero too,
when you
but
listen to it on TV, they call them liberos.
they do.
So
But most of the volleyball that I watch on TV is from the Midwest. So I expected you to say libero.
yeah, nope, libero.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
Tomato,
gonna
tomato.
call it. I'm gonna call it soccer instead of football too. So
Call the whole thing off.
it's and my daughter is a libero, and everybody around here. I'm in Texas. It's all libero. One of our coaches, not our coaches, but one of our parents, who's a college coach. She calls him libero. She's from the Dominican Republic. So, yeah, I'm gonna say both are acceptable.
Both are acceptable. But it sounds like I'm more correct, and that's what I wanted to hear. So I appreciate you guys validating that libero is correct.
Libero it is. You heard it here first. Our opinion. Our opinion counts, and it's libero. Anybody decides to say otherwise, sorry.
Yeah.
You can chime in the comments, and we'll tell you how wrong you are.
Mm-hmm.
We really won't. We're not that mean.
No, not at all.
No, we might
We'll just ignore
just
you.
for fun.
So what's new? What are we talking about tonight? What's our
So
What's
tonight we're talking about when it's time to say goodbye. Cue the Boys to Men.
Yeah.
Every graduation song from the mid-90s. It's hard to say goodbye, and what do we do as sports parents when it's time for our kids to hang up their shoes and knee pads and either move away from volleyball or any sport that they're playing?
First of all, my kid doesn't hang anything up. I've walked into her bedroom; it's all on the floor.
Truth.
I'm not going anywhere near that, but I think my daughter's 13. She's playing in 14s. Matt, I think your daughter's playing 15s this year. That's kind of that age where a lot of girls walk away, right? It's that 15s, 16s. As they're going into high school, there's a lot of other stuff to do in high school.
Mm-hmm.
More boys, they start driving. There's all the other stuff. And Dan, your daughter, of course, we all know walked away this year. That's 17s.
Yep.
Right.
And she finished her 16th season and down in 17s. And it really is. I think there's a bunch of different avenues, at least two that I can think of, that Jim, you've experienced this too, that it's one of those things where you might know it's coming or you might not even see it coming.
Yeah. And so what Dan's talking about, for full disclosure, my daughter had an injury a few weeks ago, had a concussion, and we had some serious discussion about if that was it with volleyball. It's not her first concussion. It's her first volleyball concussion. But we're pretty well educated about head injuries, head trauma, traumatic brain injuries. And we were really concerned about letting her back on the court. She still hasn't been cleared yet as of this episode. So, I mean, we were very close to just saying, hey, it's a career and time to, go play golf or tennis or do something else that you're not going to get hit in the head. So that's one, right? And that's true with every athlete in every sport. You either get injured and your career is over. You finish out, whatever level of talent you achieve, right? Maybe you're not good enough to play at college, or you're not good enough to go pro, or at some point, for the people who are really lucky to make it all the way to the pros, right? The game passes you by, right? It's time to retire. So, those are kind of the three main ways that we all say goodbye to a sport.
Very true.
So as
True.
parents, how do we deal with that? For Dan, you're the one who's had the actual experience with it. How
Yeah.
did you handle that?
I think the looking back on it, I think the way to handle it is just be there for your daughter and agree with her, and however you can help her get through what she wants to do. So in our instance, my daughter played a one-on-ones team, a national team. She's great outside, and she didn't make the high school team, which in Wisconsin area, the school that she goes to is 3,000 kids. There's hundreds of kids that try out for volleyball. She transferred from our school to this school because it's a better school academically, and played her JV on the team, and was invited to go to all the varsity things. And on the last day, the last minute, she was cut. So that was a real traumatic because she did not see it coming. She's, like I said, she's a very talented kid. She'd start anywhere else in Wisconsin, any other high school. She'd be starting outside. But unfortunately, she would be, bottom line is she didn't make the team. I'm not going to get into politics and all that garbage on the show, but she didn't make the team. So initial reaction was, oh my God, it hurt me just as much as hurt her, and she didn't want to talk about it for a long time. So as parents, we were just there for her. But as a parent trying to cope with it, it's just a time thing, to be honest with you. I don't know. I can't put it into words yet, because I'll be honest, it's still a little raw. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I had a question about that, because as we were faced with, having to tell her that it was time to walk away, which is a completely different discussion and very, very hard. There's also another aspect of that, right? My daughter and I have bonded over her sport. I'm obviously very heavily involved in the community around here. I do video work for it. I've learned videography as a result of her playing the sport. We do this podcast, which is, I've never done a podcast until this. We started the Facebook group. So I have a lot of personal growth and development.
Never done a podcast until this. We started a Facebook group.
What the hell?
So I have a lot of personal.
That was crazy.
Man, I sound good.
You do.
And so there's some personal aspect of, am I going to lose all these things that I've really enjoyed and developed over the last several years? But more importantly, am I going to lose that connection with my daughter? Is there, it worried me, and we have a really great relationship regardless of the sport. But, as they become teenagers and they get busier with their lives and other stuff and friends and whatever else, every little connection means so much. And so I had a lot of real concerns about, what might happen there.
Well, I can tell you, I have the same relationship with my daughter I did before. So you don't necessarily have to worry about that, but you don't get as many opportunities. And likewise, when they get older, you don't get that many opportunities anyway, especially daddy, daughter kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You really got to corner them to get what you want, at least in my doings. But when you have 5 hours in the car heading to a tournament, 5 hours there, 5 hours back in a weekend, devoted to something that we both love, it makes it a whole lot easier to get through to them. It's a lot tougher now because I can't relate to 17-year-old boys or anything else that they're doing on the weeks or even schoolwork for that matter. It's just not I can't relate to that. So that part's tough too.
I would say, to all of that, Facebook has, some things that are great about it and also some things that are really bad about it. And you can sum both of those things up in the Facebook memories that pop up every day. It's great about reminding you about what happened this day, last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And it's great because you can look back at things, but it's also terrible because it can remind you of, oh, I missed that,
Yep.
And especially during the school season, with our two older kids, one cheered all through high school. The other was drumline all through high school. And so we used to think in those moments, this is so busy. This is so hard, being out every Friday night,
Mhm.
traveling on the weekends to different competitions. We used to think, man, this is so hard. And then Facebook is great about reminding us about those times. We're like, oh man, I really miss that. I miss
Yeah.
sitting out in the cold on the football field and things of that nature. So, Jim, to hear you talk about, we've bonded over volleyball. What happens next? If volleyball is gone, what happens next? The good thing about Facebook is that I look back on it now and just looking at, Mackenzie, because a lot of her memories have been popping up here lately for some reason. And I saw her, she fell asleep at the back door when she was about 4 or 5 years old watching the snow. We don't get a lot of snow here in Arkansas, so it was kind of a big deal. And she fell asleep, back there watching the snow. There was another picture that popped up. I may have to embarrass her one day and show the world this picture. It's on Facebook. I just haven't shared it with the volleyball community yet. But me and my son, we used to have dart wars almost like every night. He had like 4, 5, 6, Nerf guns, and we would just be running around the house screaming and, shooting darts at each other. Well, she wanted to get involved because at the time she was like 4 or 5 years old. She might have even been younger than that, but she would get dressed up. And one night I put these swim goggles on her, like the big face mask, had that on her, had this dart belt that I strung across her. I mean, she looked like a Jedi or something from Star Wars. I don't know, but it was just funny. I took a picture of her. I guess all that to say that over the years, she's now 15. Over the years, I can see that, days of sleeping at the back door watching the snowfall, that's probably over. There was a picture that showed up the other day of her and her mom asleep on the bed, and they just looked so peaceful, just sleeping there on the bed. So those young, youthful, innocent days of just falling asleep, that's over. She's a night owl now, so I'm not going to watch her sleep anymore. The Dart Wars games, that's over. The daddy-daughter dances, because that always happened around Valentine's Day. There were 4 or 5 years of that where we got dressed up and everything. That's over. But while you can look at that and say all these things are over, we went from sleeping to Dart Wars to daddy-daughter dances to volleyball. We can look forward to something else in the future, that it's not over. The relationship or where you bond, it's not over. There's always something in the future that you can bond over. That was a long scenic route, long answer, probably mansplained quite a bit there. But I would just say that if volleyball is gone, and we're at that age where, 15, 16 years old, it very well could be the last year, or maybe next year might be the last year. But if that's gone, I still look forward to what is next. It could be school, career. There could be endless things that we bond over, and I look forward to that. I would be sad about volleyball because, like you too, Jim, podcast, never done that before. Learning videography, never done that before. I'm still terrible at it, but I enjoy messing around with it just to see what I can do. Yeah, dude, I still film in 720p sometimes because I don't know how to operate.
It's okay. It's okay.
You just want to edit quicker. I totally get it.
Yeah, there's just a lot.
We're going for a vintage look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's vintage.
You want to pay for that.
But the great thing about 720p is that my Mac runs so much faster trying to render all that stuff. So there is a silver lining to it. But no, there's always things to look forward to. There's things that I have learned along the way that I'm afraid that, I'm going to miss out on this stuff, but, when Jim was talking about, it could, the injury, what happened with that. And I was like, you know what, we're all still friends. We still have our Facebook group page, and we talk about so much stuff that's not even volleyball related. That
I know.
I guess that's where I would lead into next, is just the relationships that have been built over the years with people, and that's the thing that I look forward to, I would say. Sorry,
Yeah,
I rambled on and on.
Oh,
and
no,
on.
no. You hit everything on the head. You hit everything on the head. It's I know Ivan's watching. Ivan is a good friend of mine. His daughter Baze played with Sydney on the same team. And I really wish he would click the little box and click the OK,
so we can see that it's him.
Yeah, because I can't see you, Ivan, until I go onto the Facebook page. So Ivan says here, he's got a couple of posts on here. He said one that He says, once you're part of the family, you're always part of the volleyball family. And I
yeah.
do agree with that because, I mean, I've gone to a bunch of volleyball tournaments now, and I don't have to. It's actually good because I can go watch and then I leave. Like I don't have to watch reffing. I don't have to be emotionally invested in my daughter, whether she's playing or not playing, or whether she missed the ball or whether she nailed. I don't have to worry about any of that. It's like I get to watch the game. I get to watch,
Mhm.
and I get to talk to people, and I don't have to necessarily be involved in just that court. I can go across the way because, being in this for so many years, we have volleyball family all throughout the whole tournament, especially at local tournaments. So
Mhm.
that's a positive. I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good positive.
Absolutely.
What else did he say here? He's got this one. Damn Siri. My daughter is turning 12 this month. I'm so excited to be a part of the volleyball and watch her family find the passion in the sports world. Yes. Another Facebook user. I don't know who this is.
That's James. James is it
Ludman?
Ludman?
Ludman.
Yeah.
Sorry if we butchered your name, James.
No, but James, that's a great point, and that was probably one of the most fun aspects is when you see your daughter, because boys are kind of wired, right, to be more
Yep.
competitive,
Mhm.
but to see these girls find that passion and that fire to be competitive, it's such a cool experience to just see their personality, see that light switch go on. I saw it with my younger daughter in swimming over the last year and a half. And she's definitely a lot easier going than my older daughter. And it's been really fun to see both of them take to their respective sports and really, find that confidence and aggression that I think will serve them well throughout life.
Yes. I'm just going to go through these comments because this stuff makes me smile. 0.5. So let me tell you a little story about 0.5. If you go on your phone, especially iPhones, there's a
Oh, yeah.
setting in the photos that's 0.5. And the girls were going around taking selfies in the 0.5 mode, like up here like this. And it makes your forehead like ginormous. And they were going around and doing it. And it's kind of one of those you had to be there kind of moments, but it was it's just funny. So it's just those moments outside of the volleyball court, and being I do miss that part of it. I do miss that part of it. Just not being able to hang out with all the dads and the moms and enjoy a whole weekend together, just having fun, carrying the luggage from the car, the
Yeah.
18 the pack of water and the cooler and the
Mhm.
dragging it all the way up there for 3 days worth of stuff. And you got your daughter's got a volleyball bag and then another bag and then you got a bag and we're video dads. We got a video bag, maybe
Oh,
two
yeah.
sometimes, and a cooler and some water and then 3 bags from the local grocery store of snack food,
Right.
not to mention all the grill stuff that you need because
Mhm.
you got to grill when you're in the parking lot, but
Yeah, it's the I think that you said something about this over the summer, Dan, about how it's us that writes the check, so it should be about us having fun too.
indeed.
And that just really stuck with me, and I've shared that with a lot of parents, this year. And honestly, me and another couple of dads were sitting around talking about former teams that we were a part of and the parents that were there, and we were talking about them and how much fun we had with them, and it was great talking to this person, and that person was interesting. And it's got me thinking now that volleyball is coming to an end this year. The season's almost over. We've got one tournament left here in a couple of weeks, and then we're done. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of missing the thought of this being over. How can we stay connected? And we're talking about how do you say goodbye whenever your daughter's done? How do you hang it up? But do you have to hang up those relationships?
No, sir. No, sir. I went on and hung out with the volleyball dads this weekend, and it wasn't even volleyball related. Well, it was volleyball related, but it was at somebody's house on a non-tournament situation. It was, hey, come hang out, have a margarita, absolutely. I'll come over. Let's talk volleyball. Let's just hang out. And that's really what it's come down to. Like, it's just the relationships you build with the parents is what I miss more than the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I miss watching my kid play.
Right.
But the relationships, I want to call it forced relationships, the fact that you have to spend time with these people, you might as well enjoy it. You might as well have fun. You know, every time should be a vacation. Every time should be a good time.
And that's what I've really tried to focus on this year. Not about the winning and the losing. Of course, winning's fun, right? Everybody likes to win. Nobody likes to be frustrated when you're losing. Nobody likes to sit around and, second guess the coaching, the playing, the kids, the reffing or anything like that. I really try to take a different perspective of, am I having fun? Is my daughter having fun? Is this a good experience? Use the phrase, little miniature vacations. Is this a good mini vacation for me? Is this a good weekend for me? And try to make it more about just having fun and enjoying it more so than, the wins, the losses, the bad reffing, the angry parents that won't get out of their chairs or whatnot.
Literally had a ref who was blind in one eye at Sunshine.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Was he? Did she wear a patch?
No, but she walked by me later and I was like, holy cow. All right. You're clearly blind in your left eye. She made a number of bad calls at the end of the match. It cost us the match.
The left side?
Guess which side we were on? We were on her left. Yep.
Hey, let me tell you about this ref at our last one. We thought that the opposing player lifted the ball. The ball it was on a block. Ball went straight down, and she comes way down from basically her knee and comes up with the ball. You can tell that something's not right there. It looks like a lift. So, my daughter goes over to the ref and says, hey, that's a lift. You got to call stuff like that. And he literally told her there's no such thing as a lift.
What?
Like a lift doesn't exist. And then he said, do you have a rule book? And my daughter said, do you have a rule book?
Card.
There's an official USAV sponsorship now. It's no longer a lift. It's an Uber. Maybe I worked a dad joke in here. All right. There you go.
I'd never heard that before. I mean, so I actually went back to the hotel. I looked it up. So it's actually not called a lift. Technically, there is not a lift, but a lift is described within the USAV rulebook as a throw or carry. But it still uses the word lift. It describes a lift, even though lift is not a technical term.
So what is the technical term for a lift?
A carry or a throw.
Got it.
It's either called a carry
or
a throw.
Got it. Okay.
It's okay. So in that case, Mackenzie should have said, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You got time for that.
Yep.
So we've talked a little bit about, what it means for our kids. Dan, when I was going through this stuff with Jada, you told me, with some sage wisdom, right? Just give it time.
Yeah.
Right. Time heals.
Yep. I did say that.
And I have a hard time when my kids are hurting. Like I think most good parents will. But my wife just kept reminding me, and Matt, this kind of goes along with what you were saying is, this will end, but something else will take its place. And this lays a foundation for that relationship that carries on and that you build on as time goes on. My daughter will talk to me about all kinds of stuff. We drove around in the car for an hour and a half the other day, and I just listened. Like she wanted to talk. I wanted to listen. So, whether or not that's part of volleyball, I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess in a lot of ways, the objective of building that relationship has already been there.
Yeah. Here's another one. This is from
Roderick.
Yeah. De las Reyes. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And again, I apologize for the butchering. My daughter's volleyball journey continued in college last year, but kind of ended for me since I don't get to get all the gear packed up in the car and head out to the tournaments and hang out with the other parents. that we have known for years. Now I need to go to games where they are local and fly where we can. It's awesome to see her play, but it's just different. And I have to agree, it is different. That's
Yeah, I'm always curious about that. You know, we have the NCAA, the men's basketball or men's and women's basketball tournaments going on right now. And it's interesting. You see like sections of the team parents sitting together at those tournaments a lot of the time, you know, especially as the teams kind of get a deeper run. You don't see that you do see it in football a little bit, but you don't see that as much in volleyball.
No.
But the teams are smaller, and you know the stadiums and the arenas are usually smaller where the women's teams play. But I guess it's just the travel, right? Usually the distance makes it harder. But that would be kind of cool though to continue to build that volleyball fraternity or sorority, if you will.
Yeah.
But that's true.
I mean, that's got to be tough whenever your kid goes off to the college level, because here, you know, whenever you're playing club ball, typically you're playing with the same girls. Teams might switch up a little bit here and there, you know, each year. But, you know, with us, we're small town Arkansas. So we know parents from school too.
Everybody's
I mean,
the same area.
yeah. So basically our team this year, my daughter's team this year is two rival schools. There's 6 from one school, 3 from another. So we all know each other. So it's a lot easier to stay connected. But you think about that with, you know, the post that just came up about, you know, when my daughter went to college, it's just different. It's probably a lot harder for the parents to make connections because you're playing with people you've never been around before, you know, especially depending on what level you go to, especially if your daughter travels out of state or out of town, you know, going across the state to go to school. She's playing with people she's never played with before, and now you're having to be around parents that you've never had to be around before. So that does have to be hard, and I imagine it would be very different to step into that type of environment.
Yeah, it's almost like starting over, you know. I mean, in Wisconsin, we have there's a lot of different club options. So if you club hop, you know, it's like starting over every season that you decide to go to a different club. It's totally a whole different group of girls. Not to say that happens very often, but if you were to do that, I mean, when my daughter moved from the one club she was at to a different club, you know, I'm going to say I was a little nervous because it's like, well, who are these people? You know, I'm a very outgoing person, so it really wasn't that big of a deal for me, but it did take, I mean, I could probably use the hockey season because my son plays hockey, for those that haven't figured that out yet. That season was very, very hard to get involved in because we know nothing about hockey. I mean, my son is by far not the greatest player on the team, so we didn't have that going for us either. So you had to actually try to get people to talk to you. But once you get in there and, you know, pry that little, you know, that little lid off the talking group and, you know, get some liquid courage out there for everybody to drink. And then, you know, next thing you know, everybody's talking to each other. And by the end of the season, you're like, oh man, I wish I would have done this earlier. So I guess looking at it from that aspect, you know, and going back to what you said, Matt, I think you're right. I mean, things change, but it's not the end of the world. You know, we're going to find something else that they're going to do. You know, now I have time to go, you know, to the play with my daughter. You know, she wants to go watch her friends perform. Let's go. All right. 2 weeks ago, we went to watch a show. Like, this is great. Brought her boyfriend. We get to hang out. Like, it was a good time. I don't have to spend, you know, 20 grand for 6 months worth of travel to do the same thing I did, you know, spend $20 instead of 20 grand. I mean, hey, and I got a cookie.
Yeah, for sure. What am I going to do with all this money?
I know, right?
So
that is another benefit to this.
We can't gloss over this. So how do you feel about the boyfriend?
Oh, dude. Just because we're 40 minutes into this. I know my daughter is not going to hear it. He's awesome. He's awesome. He's pretty awesome. Yeah. So he's a football player. He's a good kid, gets good grades, calls me sir. I can't complain.
There you go.
It's funny because we just had this conversation when I was over talking to Ivan this weekend. So what do you think of the boyfriend? Oh, he's great. I think I said the same thing. It's just funny.
Not ready. I'm not ready for that. No.
You know, he's been super respectful, so I can't knock it. I mean, my oldest, her, and again, 40 minutes into this, I know she's not going to hear it. If she does, she's not made the best choices in boyfriends. Now, the one that she has now, he's a good kid, but it's just, I'm still not ready for it. And she's 20. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I hate boys.
They're all terrible. They smell.
They're all terrible. I put myself out there in the same group. I just hate them all.
Yeah.
If they could all have, the dirty stashes and the mullets, we'd be happy.
Yeah.
So Dan, has it been? Do you think it's been harder on you or Sydney?
That's a good question. Initially, I think it was harder on Sydney. But now a year later or 6 months into the season, 8 months because she didn't make the high school team, I think she is by far over it. I think it was harder for me in the long haul, but I think it impacted her more right up front than it did me. Like I just felt bad for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt bad for her. It's not like, oh man, what my daughter's high school career is over. What am I going to do? Like, no, that never crossed my mind. But like the fact that like we've been doing this for 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, because I count my oldest. We've been doing this for almost a quarter of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's talk positives, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying those club dues. You're not paying all those travel fees.
Yeah.
It's like getting a raise.
It is. It's definitely like getting a raise. I'm getting a new bathroom now.
Nice.
It's fucking great. This is fantastic.
Get a raise, get vacation time back.
Yeah, get vacation time for vacation, like real vacation,
right?
Where I want to go vacation.
We're trying to convince the neurologist to tell her that she has to play on a regional team instead of a national team, so we can save that money for actual vacations.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to work.
No. And in hindsight, what would I do if I had to go back and could change something? I guess that would be my thought on this. I go back and forth on this because there's times where I was like, well, she could just play regional, and I wouldn't have pushed her into the upper clubs and made her work out more. Would she be playing now? Would she have even made a high school team?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Would we even be talking about this? Or if we went that route, she wouldn't get the talent, that she gets to play against either. So it's a tough one. I could have went with a cheaper club, but then would she be where she was at when she decided to quit?
Well, you guys tell me if I'm wrong here. This year, I've taken more of the approach of, well, let me add some clarity to this.
You're wrong.
Shawnee Harley on back in. Are we going with Libero now?
No, I'm just sorry.
So in January, we had Shawnee Harley on, to talk about mental toughness. And she told a story about, she was working with a son and his dad. Obviously, the son was the athlete. And he was, constantly yelling at his son, whatever sport they were playing. And she said to the dad, "Are you yelling for your son's benefit to get better or for your benefit?" And the dad's like, "Well, I'm yelling for his benefit." And she turned to the son and said, what do you think? And she said, he's yelling for his benefit so that he feels better. And she went on to talk about, it being about the kid. I can't remember everything else that she said,
yeah.
but I really tried to take the approach this year of, am I investing in this for my benefit, or am I investing in this for her benefit?
Mhm.
This year, the wins and losses don't matter as much to
Mhm.
me. Mackenzie's, performance doesn't matter as much to me. The other players, that you can identify as they're not either good, or they always mess up, or they're not, invested, or they goof off. It doesn't matter as much to me. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely 100% right. Absolutely 100% right. And it's funny because, and I think I told you guys this story, but I'll reiterate this story. My daughter was on a very good team when she was 13, 13 Black for Sting, and it was at MEQ, and it was for third place or fourth place in that division on national. I don't think it was open. It was premier, but they came down to the third set, couple points left, and coach called a timeout, like a couple points before the end, and everybody gets in the huddle. They came out and they lost, and all the parents were circled around in a circle talking about it. And Sydney came over to me, and of course I had my camera, so I was standing there, and the moms looked at her and they said, "Hey, what did coach say in the huddle?" Because he was like pointing, and you could tell he was trying to hype him up or say something. Whatever he was talking about, it didn't matter. And Sydney was like, "I don't know, doesn't matter," And she's like, "Do do 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 do," and she walked off. And the moms, like, the look on their face was like,
Oh yeah.
I can't believe she said that. Like, she doesn't care. No, it's not that she doesn't care. Well, it is because she doesn't care, but it doesn't affect her. Like, it's already over. It's just a game. Like, it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. So to jump back onto what you were saying, Matt, is it for the parents or is it for the kids? And that's really that's why, it really has to be for the kids. I mean, that's what you're doing it for. You're not doing it for yourself. And if you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I guess I take a little bit of a middle ground there. I think the focus and the emphasis needs to be on the experience and the lessons for the kids. But I think that as much time and effort and money as the parents invest in this, I think it needs to be a little bit for us too. And I'm not saying the results need to be for us, but we need to enjoy the experience, right?
Absolutely.
Like you said, treat it like it's a vacation.
Yes.
Enjoy watching your child grow and rise to challenges, watching them overcome adversity. Like it's shifting it a little bit instead of just wins and losses. But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's okay to do it a little bit for yourself too, but the emphasis
Right.
of the majority of the focus should be on those kids.
Just don't go kick the garbage can when they lose, is what you're saying.
Right. And where I was going with that is, we're talking about how do you say goodbye? How do you hang it up? What do you do next? My daughter is 15. Let's say she doesn't go to college. Best case scenario, she plays 16s and 17s, because she wouldn't play 18s, because that's really for the kids that are going to college. At least that's the way that it is around here. So
Yeah.
in all reality, I've probably got 2 years left of club ball, 3 years left of school ball. I'm trying to prepare myself for the end, and if I start getting so invested in making this all about me and all about, well, I got into this, and I started making videos, and, I got into this and got connected with the club, and I got into this and got connected with coaches and refs and podcasts and all these different kinds of things. When she walks away, then I'm going to be left devastated, and I don't want to experience that. So I'm trying to make this more about, how can I take a step back and say, how is this really about her and her experience more so than it is mine? Now, there's a lot of understoods in there, right? Like, I'm not just writing checks for my kid to go goof off. I expect, for the coaching to be there to help her improve. I expect for the club to be there to help her have a good experience, to protect her, to keep her safe. Right. So there's a lot of things that are understood, but from the overall perspective, if you're putting it in the context of what do I do next, or how do I help my daughter through the next steps if I'm so emotionally invested that this whole experience is about me, we're both going to suffer, in my opinion, which is why I took Shawnee's advice to take a step back and say, am I all upset because this was about me and my experience? You know?
Yeah.
So that's just the approach that I've tried to take. So while we're sitting here talking, I'm like, well, wait a minute, am I right or wrong, about this whole thing?
Well, I don't think it needs to be an either or. I think that attitude of, being focused on that experience and so your child's experience, the lessons they get out of sports. And we talked to Shawnee about, sports used to be about the lessons, right? It wasn't all about the scholarship. The scholarship was like a auxiliary reward after you learned about adversity and yourself and all those other great things that came out of sports. But, I think, kind of what you said, now you've built a relationship with the club, with the other parents, you've developed a skill in videography, right? Those are other things that as she ends her volleyball career, or their playing careers, you can build on still, right? You can still participate, right? Our kids are going to grow up, they're going to leave us. And not leave us, but they're going to go on and have their own lives where they're busy with their own families. It's okay for us to have interests that continue beyond them.
Right. And I'm looking for that now too, as far as what do I do when she does move on? Let's say she does play the next 3 years of club ball, next 3 years of school ball. Let's say she does go off to college. At some point that journey does end, whether it's in 2 weeks or 6 years, at some point that journey does end. What's left for me? I have to take care of myself as well and look at, do I want to continue sports videography? Do I want to, continue the podcast? Do I want to become a ref? Do I want to become a coach? What are the things that are, my long-term, thing with volleyball? If I'm really that interested in volleyball, where can I invest in my future within that and not just with my kids, I like to sit around at practices now and me and the other dads talk about all the action that's taking place. So maybe I might be a sports commentator for volleyball, join the Big Ten network or something like
There
that.
you go.
That's a
good.
little shameless plug. If anybody's watching, check me out.
So I wanted to, can we bring up Roderick's comment
Which
about
one?
life lessons?
I just did.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Yeah. Life lessons disguised through volleyball. Right. And that's through sport in general, not just volleyball, but I guess Roderick, I had a question that could probably be better directed at you is it easier? Do you think it'll be easier for you when your daughter's career ends in college, or if she goes pro? Maybe she goes pro. I don't know. I think you said she's playing at Oregon, so she's probably pretty dang good. But do you think it'd be easier for you if that was the end of her playing career versus if it had ended during high school? And he's obviously not on the in live, but we're all watching to see if there's typing. But you know what I mean? Like if you've achieved a certain level, is it easier? Like, and he was saying that he doesn't get to go to all the games. So, maybe you're not as engaged and invested. You don't have all those connections with all the other parents. So not saying it should be easier, just curious if he thinks, that might make a difference.
Ivan said it's about the athlete, but as a parent, how do we keep it positive while pushing them to be a better all-around person?
I had that question, and we're entering hour number 2. But I had that same question because at what point, let's say your daughter does come around to you this year and say, hey, I'm not going to do volleyball anymore. Star athlete. Let's say that they're a star athlete, that they stand a chance to go to college, get a scholarship. They're learning a lot of great lessons, that sports can teach. At what point as a parent, do you back off and say, okay, and do you push your kid? Because you could have a lot of bad things happen if you push too hard. So
there goes Dance chomping at the bit. Go, Dan, go.
Yeah.
So I have a good I have an opinion on this. I don't think you should ever push your kid into whatever you want them to do or whatever you think is best. I think you should give them options to make the right decision. So what I mean by that is, I'm not going to say you're going to play volleyball next year. I'm going to say, well, why don't you want to play volleyball, and give me some reasons why. And then give them that opportunity to have an open line of communication. So it's not you're telling them what to do; they're making an educated decision on by themselves, or with
When
help.
you said you give them options, I thought you were going to say you can either play volleyball or you can play volleyball. One of the two, you choose.
And
It's a wrong
we've
wall.
always told my daughter that this is her journey, and if she decides to walk away at any point, we'll be okay with that. I think I'd still have some of the same heartache or angst about it, and the relationship that we've that aspect of our relationship, I should say. That's not the sole only part of it. It's just an aspect, and it's an aspect we get to spend a lot of time on. But if she decides she's done, I'll be okay with that. But yeah, Dan, I'm with you, right? Well, we would have that discussion of, hey, you've invested a lot of time into this. Why do you want to walk away?
Right.
And
I'm
it's okay.
with it. Yeah, I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. Just tell me what your reasoning is. You want to go follow theater? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or you just, it's just too much work and you want to focus on academics. Okay, cool.
I can't say anything. I gave up sports in high school. I played football, I wrestled. And as I got into my sophomore and junior years, it was just more time than I wanted to invest. I knew I wasn't going to go pro. If I was going to go to college, it would have been a
Wanted to hang out
small
with your
school.
friends and drink and smoke and do stupid shit. Like, come on.
Well, I joined the army, so it was a little different, but
Oh yeah, or that.
Yeah.
Or there's that.
right. So, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing, right? It's a huge time investment, right? Especially volleyball. These girls miss out on proms and homecomings, and it's a year-round sport for them. I get it. I get it. So Roderick did respond. He said he thought it'd be easier to say goodbye to that playing career because it's almost like a business now, and she has all the resources she needs, and he's just a spectator. Which that's a great perspective, right? Because we're managers, right? At this level, right? We're helping them learn how to conduct themselves, how to be focused, how to have good work ethics, all those things. When they get to college, like they're realized, right? They're developed as a person, and now they're showcasing those lessons that hopefully we've taught them. That's a good perspective. Thanks, Roderick.
So we're coming up on the end here. I feel like we should encapsulate this into a nice
a hot take.
A nice little hot take. And Matt, you are so good at these. Take it away, Matt.
Wait, what? What are we talking about here?
Huh?
No, I'm talking about this whole hour that we've been talking about this. For the parents out there watching, like, how would you encapsulate this whole conversation that we had the past hour? Like,
well, I think that everybody watching needs to respond. Is it libero or libero? I think they need to just post it out there right now. Is it libero or libero?
What is it? Thumbs up for libero and heart for libero?
I was just going to tell them to spell
LEE for libero.
Libero.
Is it LIBERO? LIBERO or LIBERO?
Just call him a defensive specialist and be done with it.
That's
there
just
you go.
too hard.
That's a different position, man. Don't you?
Sorry.
Dude,
Okay.
I'm deeply offended on behalf of my daughter. How dare you?
I know. There's others out there
How
too.
dare you?
Ivan's probably yelling at the camera right now too.
So I guess for me, I would summarize this discussion by saying, what Matt said: focus on the experience, right? Focus on the lessons, and focus on the relationship you're building with your child. Whether it be a daughter or son playing their respective sport. Yeah. If you focus on those things, then you've kind of won the battle. If you can get through their playing career and have those intact.
Yes. And to just tap off on this, I think Ivan said it. There's so many positive experiences you can't put a dollar on it.
Oh yeah, Absolutely.
And he's right. You can't. So you take what you can get and you enjoy it while you can, because you never know. It might be
That's
over
right.
tomorrow, or you might be, you might get a lifetime of it. But
Yeah.
there's always going to be something else coming down the road that you can watch your
Mhm.
kid succeed in. So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that. I would just add one more. Take care of you as a parent. Take care of you. Think about, what your future is. Think about how to best care for yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself and you've invested all this, in essence, living, your life through your child, I mean, that's not healthy for either person, so
Oh
make sure
gosh,
that you're
no.
investing in you, because if you're not taking care of you, you're not going to be there for your kid when it is over and it's on to the next thing. So make sure that you're doing that. Think about that. And it'll be good. You'll be all right. Everybody will still live.
yeah, time heals, right, Jim?
There you go. Time heals.
All right. With that being said, it's time to finish this episode up. You like that one?
Yes,
That
it
was a
is.
good one.
That's nice.
That's a good one.
You're getting good at
Yep.
this.
Yeah, I don't know about that. 2 weeks. Are we sticking with Mondays, or are we jumping around? Just throwing it out there.
yes.
Mondays work
Suppose we could
best
talk about
for
this
me.
off the air, but whatever.
Yeah.
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 Mondays it is. All right. 2 weeks Mondays, unless we change it. You guys will see it popping up.
Yeah.
here.
We'll put a post
Really?
up. Yeah. We'll get the audio up,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Yeah. And
Yep.
where can everybody find us, Jim?
We are on
just-
all of your
Everybody
audio
else.
podcasting distribution services. So, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, you name it, we're there. Go download it. In
Oh,
fact, just today
yeah.
we crossed 1,000 downloads.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Look at that.
So thank you
Somebody
everybody
special.
who's been downloading and listening. Apologies that we've been on a bit of a hiatus, but hopefully we're
Time heals.
back in the saddle now and got lots more good stuff coming for you.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Thanks for
Look
watching.
us. We'll put it on there. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care. Have a great night, guys.
See you.